Hello, my friends. What is this? I think the seventh video in a series of videos on the houses. We're discussing the 12th house. We're looking at the people who have the most planets in the 12th house. The next person is Felix Guittari. So let's see what Felix is all about and what it tells us about the meaning of the 12th house. Who is he? Well, he's a psychologist, and he's a little abstract. It's maybe going to take a little while to get a feeling for what this guy is all about. His ideas are abstract, difficult to summarize in a simple way. So here's an attempt to try to explain what he's about. So this is a quote from a website, mitpress.mit.edu, etc. Okay, so to quote from this, he's a dissident in the French Communist Party and active in far-left politics. Let me stop right there. In the previous video, I mentioned that there are three areas that people with a 12th house emphasis get into. One is religion, moral beliefs, and spirituality, like divine plan, you could call it. Another one is the biological or natural way that people should be. And the other is political, often an interest in communism, socialism. Those two are very common, sometimes also an emphasis on freedom and the ability to choose. I think the communism and socialism comes in because it's an attempt for people to feel that everybody has an opportunity within the plan, like life should be equally available to all, although you can make that argument for capitalism as well. So I think it's historical, certain places and times. The 12th house inclines to particular political beliefs based on what people are likely to perceive as liberating people to, maybe the word's not liberation, but to release people from the confusion and the dysfunction of not being in the natural law. There's this sense with the 12th house that you are dysfunctional. There's a kind of judgment with the 12th house, often a sense of guilt, like there's a right and a wrong. You're dysfunctional if you're not in tune with the way life is made to be, and life is good and proper when you're in tune with it. Okay, so he participated in the student rebellion in May 1968. He realized early on that it was possible to introduce analysis into political groups, so he combines psychological theory with politics. Considers open machines subject groups rather than self-contained structures, subjugated groups. These subject groups shunned hierarchy and vertical structures. Well, there's all of his abstract language. It's hard to get away from it. Open machines, subject groups, self-contained structures. He thinks in this kind of abstract way. But very simple and straightforward is that he doesn't like hierarchies. Very simple. He's anti-hierarchy and vertical structures, another way of saying hierarchy. There's something very, very wrong with that. It's not the way life is supposed to be. So he's mixing up politics with psychology, and we'll see in the next slide. I want to show you his chart before we go to the next slide, that he sees politics and social structures as strong forces that create mental illness. So you can't think about mental illness outside of the context of the social environment that a person's in. But let's look at his chart. So there he is, and time is 6:20 a.m., 1930. So it's a good time, good place. He's born a little bit north of Paris, France, at 49 north. So you may know at this time, anytime you go above 45 latitude, the vertex is a little bit stronger. So his vertex is going to be a little bit stronger, not massively stronger than his 12th house. Well, let's go and look. If we go to listings, planets or asteroids list, and we scroll down, we will see that it is pretty significantly stronger, 63%. Ascendant 37%. So he's 2/3. Vertex is twice as strong as the Ascendant, according to this formula. So more important than this equal houses is the vertex houses, but still, it's 1/3. It's there. So he's got, this is Placidus houses. When we go to equal houses, Mars, I think, is going to move over to the 11th. Let's go to equal houses. Yeah, Mars is in the 11th, but you have Mercury, Sun, Moon. There's a Sun-Moon conjunction in the 12th house. Actually, Mercury, Sun, Moon, Uranus are all within 5 degrees in the 12th house, and Venus in the 12th house, clearly in the 12th house, 8 degrees above the Ascendant. So he has 5 planets, 2 of which are the Sun and Moon in the 12th house. Huge 12th house. And look at where his vertex is. 11 Libra, Uranus 11 Aries. When we go to the vertex houses, selecting it now, Uranus is rising. Uranus is on the anti-vertex. In the previous video, I emphasized that any planet that is angular on any of the 3 house systems brings an engagement, an involvement with that house system. And at the latitude he was born, the vertex houses are stronger than the ascendant houses. So his Uranus rising on the vertex houses is huge. This means that he's independent, free-spirited, not going to be tied down by tradition and whatever expectations other people have in regards to his relationship to colleagues, to people that he works with, to people that are part of his work and his life. Oh my God, that's what his life is about. Anti-hierarchy. And with the equal houses, which are still strong, let's look at the equal houses again. They have 1/3 the strength. He's got the 12th house. What is the right system? What is the system we're supposed to live by? And then going to the vertex houses, which are the stronger one, this freedom, and still strong 12th house as well. He still has the Sun and Moon are still in the 12th house. So the way it formulates for him is 12th house, what is the right plan, and what can we do to bring people into the right plan, especially those who are not. The 12th house is more interested in the collective, in the universal, not even collective, the universal truth, and to bring everyone into alignment with it. And he works on mentally ill people. He becomes a director of a facility of mentally ill people, liberates them from social hierarchies, Uranus rising, in his dedication to this work. So here we see that the 12th house is not a religious martyr, and it's not a goody-goody person like Elaine Deloche who goes out and builds hospitals where they're needed. Just straightforward, heal the sick, straightforward, nothing complicated. With Felix Guittari, it's a little more finely nuanced in the sense that, well, it's not even that finely nuanced. It's just a different perspective on it. He's seeing with his Uranus rising in the vertex charts that people are stuck in these like cages, in these boxes. And we're going to cut them free, and we're going to liberate them and make them healthy. Now, what we've seen over and over again with the 12th house, the results are not always good. Look at the mafia leader, Badalamenti. Evil guy, so it doesn't always lead to good things. We saw Paul Laverta, the bishop, good guy overall, but he didn't pay attention to the sexual abuse of kids. I mean, whoa! I mean, that's not good. So no house is, nothing in astrology is necessarily good or bad. And what we're seeing with the 12th house is it's vulnerable. Some things more often are easier to deal with. But the 12th house is vulnerable. It gets a little bit out of it. It's like so concerned with what's universally true, it gets disconnected from practical realities. And this guy's really disconnected. I mean, frankly, his ideas are a little nuts. Let me show you. I mean, some of the things he does are a little crazy. Well-intentioned, but a little... let's look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. So, all right, let's look at the next slide. Listen to this. This is, again, from the same website. Concluding that psychoanalytic theory had become part and parcel of a repressive capitalist social order. Okay, so it's the repressive capitalist social order. Uranus rising in the Vertex charts, or Uranus conjunct the AntiVertex, his concern about what the divine plan is and what dysfunction happens if you're not part of this, well, it wouldn't be divine for him, plan of life, natural way. So Guittari outlines a schizoanalytic theory to undo its capitalist structure and set the discipline back on its feet. Combining theoretical research from fields as diverse as cybernetics, semiotics, ethnology, and ethology, he introduces into psychoanalysis a polemical dimension at once transhuman, transsexual, and transcosmic that brings out the social and political, the machinic potential of the unconscious. Well, he uses all this abstract language, but basically what he's saying is that there's something transsexual, transcosmic, 12th house, trans, something universal. It seems like he doesn't want to say anything that sounds too nice, too ethically good. He's making it all sound very abstract, but what he's saying is there's something natural, fundamental, beyond just your human reality. This is the way it is. And he has all these fancy words he makes up. Chaosophy is an introduction to his groundbreaking theories of schizoanalysis, a process meant to replace Freudian interpretation with a more pragmatic, experimental, and collective approach rooted in reality. So he uses a lot of abstract terminology, but he feels that this is more grounded, more real. Unlike Freud, who utilized neuroses as his working model, Guittari adopted the model of schizophrenia, which he believed to be an extreme mental state induced by the capitalist system itself. That's what I mean. It gets a little wild. Capitalism induces schizophrenia. Well, I think there's schizophrenia in all cultures. But anyway, and one that enforces neurosis as a way of maintaining normality. I'm not saying he's completely off. I think that I think all of us, will agree there's some truth to this. There's a social context in which, foster these things. But anyway, it's interesting that he focuses his life on this. This is his life work. 12th house, Uranus rising on the vertex houses. And the vertex houses are stronger than the equal houses. The equal houses are there as well. 1/3 of the strength, vertex houses 2/3. His post-Marxist vision of capitalism provides a new definition not only of mental illness, but also the micropolitical means for its subversion. This is so, if you just feel what he's saying and look at his chart, wow, it's just amazing how well it fits. So what we're seeing here is actually how the 12th house operates in real life. It's not always going to be a saint, a person who builds hospitals for people who need it, or mafia leaders or something. It can also work its way out in just this sense of what the right social world is for people. Okay, in 1955, he started working at Laborda, a psychiatric clinic in France. This is the part that I think is interesting. Laborda wasn't your average psych clinic. Listen to this. The clinic's constitution imagined the organization as a communist utopia. So he takes this clinic for the mentally ill, turns it into a communist utopia. This utopia required the disposal of formalized bureaucracy. Staff members were required to rotate in and out of manual labor to destabilize the hierarchies that existed between the intellectual staff and the laboring staff. Nurses were often indistinguishable from patients Patients were even given responsibility over administrative tasks and can serve on the board of the clinic. One patient even served as treasurer and handled the board's bank account. You can't tell the staff from the patients. His Uranus rising in the Vertex houses is just not going to stand for any kind of hierarchy. So he makes the patients take on responsibilities to run it, and sometimes the staff are acting like the patients. I'm not saying there's no truth or validity or usefulness in this, but just the extremes that he takes it to is pretty unbelievable. And this is back in 1955. Wow. I mean, it's just wild. It's what his chart says. It's amazing. It's, so it really, if we use the idea, again, let's look at the chart, that the vertex houses become very strong. They're stronger than the ascendant houses at this latitude. And any planet, this other rule is vitally important, any planet angular in any of the three house systems is conspicuous. Oh, I forgot to mention, minor detail. Not only did you have Uranus rising in the vertex house system, Saturn's on the midheaven. He has a Saturn square Uranus with an 18-minute orb. That's a slow-moving aspect. People for weeks, have Saturn square Uranus in their charts. Not everybody born for several weeks, throughout the whole world is a rebel like he is, but he has them angular in the vertex houses. And Saturn-Uranus is the most disruptive combination you can have. Set people really free. So it's very fascinating. I think that's about it. Let's see. So yeah, he was born about 20 miles north of Paris, and like Campbell. Let's read this last paragraph. Like Campbell, he has an interest in things that are painful and dysfunctional, and like other 12th house people, he works in a medical and helping profession. But he does it in the Uranian way, free of the rules of others. He has the God complex of others in that he is reported to act in an authoritarian way, establishes the way a clinic runs as he believes it must be done, and does not compromise. Well, he was reported as being very authoritarian himself. Like his colleagues, the other directors would say, oh, let's try this. No, we're not doing that. This is how it goes. So even though he's anti-authority, he's quite authoritarian himself. And this seems to be something, well, it is something, I shouldn't say seems to be, we saw this repeatedly. The 12th house, especially when there's strong 13 vibration. In the case of Guittari, I'm not so sure he was that authoritarian that I'm expecting huge 13 vibration. There's probably a little bit, but in any case, the 12th house, it has this sense of what's right. And as they discover what the natural law is, you're walking around thinking, I'm tuned to the natural law. And other people aren't thinking about that. So it gives us often a sense of superiority, that one is in tune, is the word I'm looking for, in tune with the natural law. And a lot of other people are not. So it appears that the vertex and the vertex houses are more important than we thought. So we're finding these people born above 45 north, the vertex really standing out. An interesting thing, the second paragraph here, that in Egypt, Babylonia, the Middle East, Iran, India, and Pakistan, where a lot of the early astrology flourished, the ascendant was very strong. Isn't that interesting? So the earliest astrology was mostly developed close and, below 45 north, where the ascendant is well below 45 north for most of these places. The ascendant was much stronger than the vertex. And that's what the astrology was based on. When astrology became established in Europe in the Middle Ages, the ascendant's actually weaker. At those higher, most of the area was a higher latitude. It's just interesting to track this, and what, how this happened. But it makes sense that for a long time, people found the importance of the ascendant, and at latitudes where the ascendant is much stronger than the vertex. Okay, that's it. Let's see, where are we at now? Oh, 20 minutes. You know what? We can continue. We could probably finish this because I don't have a huge amount to say about these others. Let's put all this into one video. Charles Coquelin is next. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He's a composer. You know what? Let's stop here. Change my mind. I don't want to like push through this art faster than we need to. Let's take a break here. 20 minutes is enough for a video. Let's come back and wrap this up because there's some concluding comments and stuff. So yeah, we'll make it a separate video. That's it for this one, my friends. Thank you very much for listening. God bless. Namaste.